In the last lecture, we have seen the definition of a limit. It is just an extension of what we have seen in one variable case. That hope you people remember. Okay, there we say limit x approaches to some point f of x equals L. So if it has to be true, what has to be the case? Absolute of f of x minus L has to be less than epsilon for some given epsilon whenever absolute of x minus c is less than delta and the 0 is excluded in this case. We have extended the same idea to a two variable case and saw these things, and all those properties that are applicable for the one variable case can also be extended to the multivariable setup. So these are some primary examples by which how we calculate the limits is seen in the previous lectures, and now we will start with some example of calculating the limit, and then we'll move to the concept of continuity of several variables. So the problem is, find limit xy approaches to 0 0 to the function 4xy squared upon x squared plus y squared. Okay, they are asked to find this limit if it exists. So there is no guarantee that the limit must exist. If it exists, find what is the limit. Do you have any idea of calculating this? Till now, what we have done, can you extend the same idea to this? Any one of you? Can you do? So initially, what we do is that we just try to give x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0 into the given function, right? So when you do so, you are going to get 4 times of 0, 0 squared upon 0 squared plus 0 squared, which is in the form of 0 upon 0. With even in the last problem also, I have explained you people that you do not know to differentiate the multivariable case, so you cannot make use of L'Hopital's rule here. So what can be done? Basically, what do we mean by a limit? In this is this your domain is going to be in a two-dimensional plane, so you will have to come to the 0 comma 0 point, that is you will have to approach to origin. So if you have to approach to this point, you may come on any path. So this may be your curve. Through this curve you may come to this point, or along x-axis you may come to this point, or along y-axis you may come to this point, or you may take any straight line which passes through origin, you may take this one. Okay, so there are many possibilities. You may take this one, or you may take a parabola which passes through the origin. There are infinite number of ways to approach to this point. So let us take something. Okay, if in all the possible ways, if you can go to a same function value, then the limit exists. Okay, in the domain you can very well come to the point 0 comma 0 in all possible ways. But if you travel along this line or this curve, and the function value also come to the same point, only then we can say the limit exists. Okay, here we will take such paths and see what is happening. Okay, let us try along x-axis. What is the equation of x-axis? Guys, you do answer please. What is the equation of x-axis?
Y
Y
is
is
equal
equal
to
to
0, sir.
I
0.
is
Yes.
equal to 0.
Good. So y is equal to 0. If you travel along y is equal to 0, what is going to happen in the function? What will be the function value when y is 0? It is 4 times of x, 0 squared upon x squared plus 0 squared. In the numerator you will have 0. So in the denominator you have x squared. So whatever may be the value of x, you are going to get 0. And what is, if you take along y axis, what is going to happen? What is your function value? Can anyone say? What is the function value in this case?
Zero, sir.
Yeah, even here
Zero,
it
sir.
is 0. So, by our assumption, intuitively we expect that 0 is the limit value. So intuitively, we assume that this is the limit value. Okay, but we are not sure whether this is limit or not. So now let us recall the definition of limit. Okay, so what was it? So that is absolute of f of xy minus L has to be less than epsilon whenever under root x minus x naught squared plus y minus y naught squared is less than delta 0 excluded. Okay, this is what. So here what are we expecting to be the limit value? We expect L to be 0. Okay, so if we expect L to be 0, we must have absolute of f of xy minus L has to be less than epsilon for whatsoever the given epsilon value is. Basically, these epsilon and delta are some negligible positive real quantities. That's it. Okay, here what is your function value? It is 4x y squared upon x squared plus y squared minus 0, which has to be less than epsilon, which is absolute of 4x y squared upon x squared plus y squared is less than epsilon. This is what we must get. Fine. Now this 4x y squared upon x squared plus y squared. Here we will have to observe few things. That is, x square is a non-negative quantity, y squared is a non-negative quantity, which in turn gives you that x squared plus y squared is also a non-negative quantity. Is this clear to you people? Do you agree that x squared plus y squared is a non-negative quantity? Guys?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes, sir.
When you take absolute to a non-negative quantity, that is the same quantity, we will not have minus, the same is going to get, right? So using that ideology, you may write this as 4 is a positive quantity, we write this as simply 4 absolute of x, y squared is a non-negative quantity, so that comes outside as simply y squared, and this is x squared plus y squared. Now we will have to make some observation here. You have y squared, okay, and you have x squared. Now you just add a quantity here. So what shall be the inequality in both the cases? Can you people try? See, we are adding a non-negative quantity here. Suppose if you are adding a zero quantity, what would you get? Class, if you add zero, what would you get? That is with y, uh, the quantity that you are adding here. Okay, suppose if your x square is 0, you will have inequality. Suppose x square is positive, this quantity is going to be the largest one. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So either this quantity will be larger or equal. The same goes here as well. Okay, so with which we will proceed with this problem, that is y square shall be replaced with less than or equals x squared plus y squared upon x squared plus y squared. So this is 4 times of absolute of x, sorry, less than or equals 4 times of absolute of x. Actually, this one 4x y squared upon x squared plus y squared. This is less than or equals 4 times of absolute of x. Whether I have 2, okay, be it minus 2, okay, so absolute of minus 2 shall also be written as positive square root of minus 2 squared. May I write this way?
Yes, sir.
Sir. So when we can write this way, this one is equal to 4 times of positive square root of x squared. And you know x squared is less than or equals x squared plus y squared. These are non-negative quantities. So when you take a positive square root, the inequality is preserved. So this one is less than or equals 4 times of under root x squared plus y squared. Okay, so what we have deduced is that absolute of 4x y squared upon x squared plus y squared is less than or equals 4 times of under root x squared plus y squared. Okay, so mark this as equation 1. Now for given epsilon positive, there exists a delta positive. Okay, so there exists a delta positive for whatsoever the value of epsilon. You choose your delta to be epsilon upon 4. Based on epsilon you will have to choose delta. That is the condition for epsilon. Okay, so I have chosen this way. Hence 0 excluded under root x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared. What is this? This is under root x squared plus y squared. If I choose this quantity to be less than epsilon, will imply absolute 4xy squared upon x squared plus y squared, which is smaller than or equals 4 times of under root x squared plus y squared. This is less than delta, right? So this is less than 4 delta, which is 4 times of epsilon upon 4, which is delta, sorry, epsilon. So what we have proved, absolute of 4xy squared upon x squared plus y squared is less than delta. Now, by this we conclude that by definition of limit, your limit xy approaches to 0 0 to this function 4xy squared upon x squared plus y squared is 0. Do you have any doubts in this?
No, sir.
Okay. So in this problem only we have exactly made use of the definition of a limit to prove something is limit. Okay. So let us revisit the problems that we have seen. Here we just directly substituted and see whether we have any troublesome or not. Since we have no troublesome points and we are getting it to be a finite value, we concluded it is a limit. Okay. In the second problem, we did not have anything in the denominator which can create some troublesome. So we directly substituted and see what was the limit. Okay. In the third problem, we were able to do some algebraic operations to find out the limit. For finding the limits, it is of course applicable even in the one variable case also. So we have done that. In this problem, we have made use of the definition of a limit. But in order to make use of the definition of a limit intuitively, that is, by some suspicion, we will have to identify a point which can be a limit. We are not assuring that this is going to be a limit, but intuitively we are saying this can be a limit. So that is what we have done. Okay, so the next concept that we are going to see is continuity of functions of two variables. So, in order for a function to be a continuous at a point, what has to be the cases in one dimensional shall also be extended to two variable cases. So, the first condition is that function has to be defined at a particular point so that it can be first of all it has to be defined at a particular point so that we can talk about the continuity at the point. The second condition is that limit xy approaches to x naught y naught to this function, this limit has to exist. That is the second condition. And the third condition is that this limit as your xy approaches to x naught y naught This has to be same as that of f of x naught y naught. So if these three conditions are satisfied, then we shall say that f is continuous at x naught comma y naught. Suppose the function is defined from some domain in R2 to R is said to be continuous in the entire D if f is continuous in all the points of D. Okay, if it is so, then we can say the function is continuous everywhere on D. Now let us see a problem. In the problem itself, I am going to explain about one more concept, that is two path test for non-existence of a limit. Okay, so that is two path test for non-existence of a limit. Okay, in order to explain what does this mean, let me give you an idea over here. Okay, I think if I change it to laser pointer, yeah, now you can see my pointer very clearly, am I right, class? Can you see where I'm
Yes, sir.
pointing now? Okay,
On the
so
graph.
yeah, in this problem what we had is that if I approach this point from this way and I'm approaching from some other way, I'm getting the same value as the limit. That is why I intuitively guessed that this could be my limit. Okay, suppose if you travel along this way, you get something as limit. If you travel along some other way, if you get some value as a limit, then we may come to a conclusion that the function does not possess limit at that point. Okay, if you travel in two different ways and you reach two different places, of course in a domain you will come to a point, but if you look at the function value, that may go to different points. That is what I am repeatedly telling, that if in two different ways, if it approach to two different values at a function, then we come to a conclusion that the function does not possess limit. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So with that idea only, now we are going to apply the ideology to check the continuity of f of xy equals, so, 2xy upon x squared plus y squared whenever your xy is non-zero, that is different from origin and is defined to be 0 when xy is origin. Okay, so if this one is not given, can you say your function is, suppose the boxed one is not given. Now tell me whether your f is defined at 0 comma 0.
No, sir. Not defense.
No. So that is why we have specifically given the value of a function to this point, right? Now, I was repeatedly telling that all the ideologies in one variable case shall be extended to a two variable case. That we have seen that polynomials. So polynomial functions are continuous, right? Therefore, consider your polynomial function in two variable as 2xy is continuous on entire R2. Similarly, your q of xy, which is x squared plus y squared, is also continuous on entire R2. Now you make the function f of xy as the ratio of p of xy upon q of xy, okay, which is 2xy upon x squared plus y squared. This is continuous on R2 except when your denominator
Zero.
is 0. Okay, when can your denominator be 0?
At origin, sir.
Only at origin your denominator can be 0. So at 0 comma 0, your x squared plus y squared is 0. So this is the only troublesome point. But the function is defined to be 0 at this point. Now we'll have to check the limit and see whether this preserves the continuity at the point or not. So except at origin the function is continuous. That we have proved. So the rest we will do now. That is, okay, the given function is 2xy upon x squared plus y squared. Okay, let me take along y is equal to mx. Let us see what is limit. X squared plus y squared. So that is limit 2 times of x. Y has to be replaced with mx upon x squared plus m squared x squared. So from which let me take x outside. So this is 2x squared multiplied with m upon, here in the denominator also I am taking x outside. So 1 plus m squared, and this x may be cancelled. And if you give xy goes to 0 0, what are we going to get? So it does not involve any x or y. So your limit is going to be 2m upon 1 plus m squared. Now, y is equal to mx. Suppose m is equal to 1. Then what is my limit? My limit value is 2 upon 2, which is 1. Okay. If my m is 2, then my limit value is 4 upon 1 plus 4, which is 4 upon
5,
5.
4 by 2.
So here you may very well see that if I travel along two different paths, I am getting two different limits. Now what can we say? So what can we say about this? Any idea? This limit does not exist. Limit means whatever may be the path that you travel, you will have to reach the same destination. But if you travel along two different paths, you are going to two different destinations, even though they are finite values. Here, even though they are finite values, they are different. So we say the limit does not exist. If the limit itself does not exist means your function cannot
It's
be
correct.
continuous at this point. Hence, the given function is continuous in R2 except at 0 comma 0. Only at this point the function fails to be continuous. In all other points the function is continuous. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay then. So next is continuity of composites. So this is a very simple idea. Uh, I think I don't need to work much problems on it. If I explain you the idea, you could get what I mean by this. Okay, here you have a function that is defined from R2 to R. Okay, and assume that your f is continuous at x naught comma y naught. Okay, so if it is so, what can you say about f of x naught y naught? Is this a two? It is in your. My question is, f of x naught comma y naught lands in R2 or R. What kind of value is this? Whether this is an ordered pairs or a single real value? Can you guys say about it?
Single pair, sir.
Yeah, it is a single point. It lands in R. Okay. Now you consider some function g which is defined from R to R. Your function is assumed to be continuous at f of x naught y naught. So if this is given like this, you know that your g can take only one value, one real value as an input. Of course, your f of x naught comma y naught is some real value. This value can be given as an input to g. If with these assumptions, okay, these are assumptions. If these are there, then your composition H, which is defined as G composite F, is continuous at x naught comma y naught. If you see the composition, the output of F is given to the input of G. Therefore, your H is a mapping from R2 to R only. Okay. So examples of these kind are e power x minus y, cos of xy upon x squared plus 1, and log of 1 plus x squared y squared. These are some examples. Okay, if you identify what is f in this case and g in this case, I think you people can try. So, can you tell me what is f and g in these cases? These are examples that I have given you. Just tell me what is function f, which has to be a function of two variables, and g is a function of one variable. So tell me what is f of xy, and let us have it as g of t. Hmm. Yeah, try it, guys.
ஒரு சம் மட்டும் எக்ஸாம்பிள் போட்டுருக்கீங்க
Okay.
சார்.
So for the second one, I'll do. Okay, I'll leave the rest to you people. So f of xy means it has to be a function of two variables. So it is xy upon x squared plus 1. This is my function f. This is continuous everywhere because you have no troublesome point because x squared plus 1 is always positive. So you don't have any troublesome. Your function is continuous everywhere on R2, and you know your cos is also continuous everywhere. So you input xy upon x square plus 1 to this g, and you see you get this function. So you can very well come to a conclusion that the functions given here are continuous. So similarly, try for this one. What is your function f of xy? So you just have to identify f and g in these cases. Anyone? Class, is that difficult?
X minus y சார்.
Exactly, x minus y is your function. And what is g?
E power t சார்.
Good. Here,
1 plus x square y square சார்.
good. It is
ln t.
log t. Good. So if you see your, you may apply any type of value to cos function. So this is continuous everywhere. Okay. Here for exponential also you can give any value as an input. So this is continuous everywhere. If you look at this, your log, only the positive value shall be applied to log function. But if you see, if you look at your f function, you may give any value as an input to f, and see this one turns to be a positive value, positive function. So these positive values may be applied to log. Here also your composition is a mapping from entire R2 to R only. Okay, these are some examples with which we conclude today's class.